Your best people keep asking you to decide, not because they can't, but because you built a system that only works when you're the smartest person in it. Here's the deal. You spent 30 years becoming excellent, and that excellent built your business. But now, it's the architecture holding you back from scale. Every decision runs through you because the system was designed around your judgment, not their autonomy. And that's costing you more than time. It's costing you your life outside of work, your team's growth, and the business you actually want to run. I spent over 35 years in IT and business operations. I wrote my first managed service agreement in the mid-90s. We called them blue sky contracts back then. I've managed companies, turned around failing operations, and coached hundreds of leaders through this exact bottleneck. And I learned the hardest lesson, not from success, but from watching a solid company crumble when a key leader left. Because the vision and the culture weren't architected into the foundation. They were stuck in one person's head. By the end of this video, you'll understand why being the most capable person in your organization is both your greatest strength and your structural trap, and what to do about it. If you've ever felt indispensable but exhausted, if you've watched skilled people escalate decisions you know they could make, if you've wondered whether the problem is your leadership capacity or something deeper, this is for you. Point number one, your excellence is the problem. You became so good at solving problems that your team learned to wait for you to solve them. Now you're stuck. Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. But here's what I add. Imagine what you could do if you had both culture and strategy. I say this because in my experience, most leaders have tactics, few have architecture. You didn't set out to be indispensable, you set out to be excellent. But excellence without system creates dependencies. Your team doesn't escalate because they're incapable, they escalate because the architecture requires your judgment to function. Think about it. You answer questions all day that your people could answer themselves if the system was designed differently. You review decisions that should be routine. You're the final word on things that shouldn't need a final word. The hidden cost? You can't leave. You can't delegate deeply. You're always alert. I was on call, even during family time. I've had clients tell me, sometimes I wonder if the real problem is my leadership capacity. Maybe I'm not cut out for this level of complexity. If you're feeling this way, you're not broken. Your system is, and your system can be redesigned. Here's the thing, competence is a beautiful trap. You got good at things because you cared. You solved problems because no one else would. You stepped up because that's who you are. And slowly, invisibly, the business became architected around you being that person. Your team isn't lazy. They're not incompetent. They're smart, capable people working inside a system that was never designed for them to make decisions without you. And here's the deeper layer. This isn't about working harder or hiring better people. It's about recognizing that the business you built to get here won't get you there. The one-man band system that got you 7 figures won't get you to 8. The heroic leadership that built the company will suffocate it if you don't redesign the architecture. This matters because the cost of staying indispensable isn't just your time. It's your team's development. It's your ability to scale. It's the life you wanted when you started this thing in the first place. So what do? You stop trying to be the best person in every room, and you start building a system where the best decisions can be made without you being there. Point number 2, you're running a one-man band system with a full orchestra. Your business grew faster than your leadership structure. Now capable people are trapped in a system built for your brain, not theirs. When you started, you were the system. You made every call. You knew every client. You had the context. And that worked because the business was small enough to fit inside your head. But as it grew, you hired good people, and the system architecture never shifted from Bruce decides to the team decides using shared principles. You brought in talent, but you didn't build scaffolding for them to operate independently. Here's what that looks like in practice. You've been in business for decades, but the roadmap and strategy live in your head, not on paper where others can execute it. Your team knows what to do today. They don't know what to do next quarter because you haven't shown them the map. This isn't a people problem, it's a design problem. Your team isn't asking you to decide because they're weak. They're asking because the system was built to require you. And here's the shift most leaders miss. Heroic leadership got you here. Stewardship gets you to the next level. Heroic leadership is you fixing everything. You're the fire extinguisher, you're the closer. You're the only one who swoops in when the business is small. That's what's needed. That's what works. But stewardship is different. Stewardship is designing systems that fix themselves. It's building a culture where decisions get made at the right level. It's creating frameworks so your team can say, here's what we're doing and why, without you needing to be in the room. The companies that scale don't have superhuman leaders. They have leaders who built superhuman systems. You already know how to do this. You do it for your clients. You built them IT systems that don't need them to be experts. You built them processes that run whether they're in the office or not. You give them automation, documentation, and structure. Now it's time you do that for your own business. The shift from heroics to stewardship is the only path to scale because you can't clone yourself. You can't work more hours. And you can't keep running a business that only functions when you're the smartest person in the room. So what's next? You take the brilliant stuff in your head, the strategy, the roadmap, the why we do it this way, and you get it out. You document it, you share it, you make it transferable. Because if it's only in your head, it dies with you. Point number 3, if it's only in your head, it dies with you. You have a roadmap. It's brilliant, but if no one else can see it, you're still the bottleneck. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I worked with a company to help them get to the next level. We spent a year building solid financials, a sales team, repeatable processes. We had 4 quarters in the black for the first time in 7 years. Everything looked good, but there was a problem I didn't catch in time. The owner, my client, had a vision and values for the business, but he never architected them into the culture. They lived in his head. He shared them with his peer group, with his coach, but he never got them on the walls, into the onboarding, into the daily fabric of how the team operated. Then he died suddenly in a dive accident. And within 2 weeks, the service manager I'd been evaluating for a GM role tried to scalp the best clients in techs to start his own company. He didn't align with the values, but because those values were never enforced or clearly defined, he stayed. And when the structure collapsed, he showed his true colors. The business should have survived. We'd done the work, but it didn't. Because the thing that held it together, the vision, mission, values, and the human element, the why we do this, was never transferred out of one person's head. Here's the brutal truth. If your strategy, your roadmap, your why we do this isn't documented and shared, it's not real. It's a ghost that haunts you but doesn't guide anyone else. You've got a laundry list of things you need to do to get the business to the next level. Hire for that role. Fix that process, launch that offering, roll out that system. It's all there, swirling around in your mind. But if you don't get it out, you're not leading, you're ruminating. And ruminating doesn't build businesses. Here's what I tell every client. Take that laundry list and put it on paper. Write it down, break it into chunks, organize it, prioritize it, make it visible. Because when it's visible, it's real. Your team can see it, they can own it, they can execute on it, and you stop being the only person who knows what's next. This is the shift from plans in your head to a roadmap others can execute. That's how you go from indispensable to scalable. And here's the deeper principle. A business roadmap isn't just a nice to have. It's the difference between a company that survives you and a company that dies with you. So what does this look like in practice? You start by getting everything out. Every idea, every initiative, we should probably do that someday. You dump it onto a page and then you turn that mess into a roadmap. You don't need a bigger brain. You need to get the brilliant stuff out of your brain and into systems others can execute. Point number 4, stop building tactics, start designing architecture. I always say tactics get you through the day, but strategy gets you to the next level. But culture is what holds it all together when you're not in the room. After watching that company crumble, I developed what I call the pyramid of purpose. It's how you architect a business that doesn't depend on you being the hero. Here's how it works. At the top of the pyramid, vision, mission, values, human element. This is your culture. And if you skip this, you get what grows from the bottom, and it's not always good. Your vision is the dent you're making in the universe. Your mission is the 20-mile march you take every day to get there. Your values are the guardrails. What you'll do, what you won't do, no matter what. And the human element, that's the vibe. That's who fits here and who doesn't. Zappos says, you got to be a little weird. That's not a value statement. That's a human element statement. It says, if you can't relax and have fun while working hard, this isn't a place for you. If you don't define your culture from the top, you get what grows from the bottom. And when crisis hits, that's where the cracks show. In the middle of the pyramid, products and services, target market, operating systems. This is your compass, where you're going and how you'll get there. What are you selling? Who are you selling it to? What tools and processes do you use to deliver it? These aren't tactics. These are strategic choices, and they have to align with your culture at the top. At the bottom of the pyramid, resources, performance measures, roadmap and strategy. This is execution, the tangible ground level work. How much money do you have? How many people? What are you measuring? What's the roadmap for this quarter, this year, the next 3 years? Here's the magic. You design from the top down. You start with vision, mission, values. You get clear on culture. Then you figure out your products, your market, your systems. Then you build the roadmap and execute from the bottom up. Most leaders do it backwards. They start with tactics. We need to hire someone. We need to fix this process. We need to launch that thing. And they wonder why nothing sticks. It doesn't stick because there's no architecture. There's no shared understanding of why you're doing it. And when people don't know the why, they can't make good decisions without you. Here's what I learned the hard way. If your team doesn't know why decisions are made the way they are, they can't make those decisions themselves. You have to get the vision, mission, and values out of your head and onto the wall. One of my favorite examples, a client I worked with years ago. The owner said, our mission is to create raving clients. I loved it. Simple, clear, powerful. So we put it on the walls. We talked about it in the meetings. We made it part of the onboarding. And pretty soon, the service delivery team started making decisions based on that mission. They'd say, will this create a raving client? Yes? Then let's do it. That's what happens when you architect culture into the business. Decisions get made at the right level because everyone knows the framework. And here's the consequence when you don't. Remember that service manager who tried to steal the clients? He didn't align with the company's values, but because those values were never enforced or clearly defined, he stayed. And when the owner was gone, there was no structure to hold the culture together. This is why culture isn't soft. Culture is the load-bearing wall, and if you don't build it intentionally from the top down, you get what you get, including, possibly, toxic culture. So what do? You sit down and answer these questions. What's your vision? What's your mission? What are our values? What kind of people thrive here? And then you document it. You share it, you hire against it, you fire against it, you make it real. Because when you do, your team stops waiting for you to tell them what to do. They start making decisions that align with where you're going because they can see the map. Point number 5, your business is a project. Treat it like one. If your business strategy isn't agile, neither is your business. And in this economy, that's a death sentence. Agile was born in software because waterfall project management, build the whole plane before you test the wing, was too slow and too fragile. The same is true for business strategy. If you're waiting until you have the perfect plan, you're already behind. Here's how Agile works in software and why it matters for your business. Your phone updates overnight because of Agile. Developers have a backlog. That's the laundry list. They pick what they can ship this sprint. That's this quarter. They execute. They release. They get feedback. They adjust. Repeat. Your business should work the same way. Take the laundry list, break it into bite-sized initiatives, execute on what you can get done this quarter, review, adjust, repeat. Here's what that looks like. Service Delivery 1.1. Learn to track time in real time. Service Delivery 1.2. Roll out managed service provider offerings. Marketing 2.0. Launch the What's in it for me campaign. Small, continuous, incremental progress. Not a giant plan that you never finish. This is the shift from heroic sprints where you say, we're going to fix everything this year, to continuous incremental improvement where you say, we're going to get 1% better every week. And here's why this works. It gets the roadmap out of your head and into a shared system. Your team can see what's next. They can execute without waiting for you to decide. I use an agile project portal with my clients to manage their business strategy like a living project. Every issue has a timeline, a deadline, and an owner. Every initiative has a score for how much it impacts finance, customer value, internal processes, and learning and growth. Every quarter we review what got done, what didn't, what's next. Do we need to adjust? Did we bite off more than we could chew? It's not magic, it's discipline. And here's the thing, most small business owners never do this. They run on tactics, they react, they put out fires, and they wonder why they're not growing. But when you treat your business strategy like a project, when you break it into sprints, assign owners, track progress, review and adjust, you stop guessing, you start executing. And here's the deeper principle. If you're not working on the business, you're only working in it. Sun Tzu said it best. Strategy without tactics is the slow route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. You need both, but strategy has to come first. So here's what you do. Take that laundry list, break it into quarterly initiatives, assign owners, set timelines, and every week check in. Are we on track? What's blocked? What needs to shift? That's agile strategy execution. That's how you move from reactive to proactive. That's how you get to the next level. And here's the promise. When you do this, you stop staying up at night wondering, how am I going to get all this done? Because you've already broken it down. You already know what's next, and your team knows too. You're not winging it anymore. You're building. Point number 6. If you're not measuring it, you're not improving it. You can't manage what you don't measure, and most leaders are measuring the wrong things. Kaplan and Norton's balanced scorecard says there are 4 perspectives that matter. Finance, customer, internal process, and learning and growth. Most businesses only measure one, money. That's why they hit the ceiling. Here's what each perspective tells you. Financial perspective. Are we making money? Are we profitable? Are we growing revenue? Most leaders stop here. But if you only measure money, you're missing the early warning signs. Customer perspective. Are we creating value? Do our clients love us or tolerate us? Are they renewing? Are they referring? If your finances look good, but your customer satisfaction is tanking, you're sitting on a time bomb. Internal process perspective. Do we have repeatable, scalable systems? Or do we wing it every time? Can a new hire execute our processes, or do they need me to explain everything? Learning and growth perspective. Are our people getting better? Are they learning new skills? Are they growing with the business, or are they stagnating? Here's the truth. If your team isn't learning, they won't stay relevant. And if they're not relevant, neither is the business. I tell clients, learning and growth is where we ensure our engineers don't fall behind. If they're not learning, they're not staying relevant. And if they're not staying relevant, we can't compete. This is where the core competency matrix comes in. You map out every skill your business needs, and you map out who has those skills, and you identify the gaps. Then you say, Tom, this quarter, you're learning this new certification. Sarah, you're taking point on this technology, and you build it into their quarterly roadmaps. Here's the consequence when you don't. Your team stagnates. and stagnant teams can't execute on innovative strategies, so you stay stuck. But when you measure across all 4 perspectives, you see the full picture. You catch problems early, you know where to focus. So what do? Pick 3 to 5 metrics across all 4 perspectives. Track them every quarter. When something dips, you know where to focus. Maybe it's customer satisfaction dropping. Maybe it's internal processes breaking down. Maybe it's team burnout. Whatever it is, you catch it before it becomes a crisis. And here's the deeper layer. When you measure what matters, you create accountability. Your team knows what success looks like, they know what they're working toward, and they can see their progress. That's how you shift from, I hope this is working, to, I know this is working. Point number 7, stop guessing, start diagnosing. Your business has 10 moving parts. Most leaders only pay attention to 3. That's why the other 7 break. Michael Porter's value chain broke business into supporting and primary activities. I adapted it into what I call the 10 value aspects. These are the areas every business has to care about, whether you're a 1-person operation or a 100-person company. Here they are. 1. Communication and collaboration. This is the glue that holds everything together, and we're horrible at it. We point and grunt, we don't talk, we don't collaborate, but communications and collaboration are what link every other aspect together, so we need to get good at it. Finance and accounting. How the business tracks performance, manages cash, and makes informed financial decisions. Human resources. How the organization hires, develops, and retains people while defining roles and accountability. Marketing. How the business positions itself, generates awareness, and creates demand in the market. Organization and infrastructure. How the company is structured, how strategy is defined, and how systems support execution. Procurement and logistics. How resources, vendors, and supply chains are managed to support operations. Production operations. How products are built or services are executed at a process level. Research and development. How the organization improves, innovates, and builds future capability. Sales. How demand is converted into revenue through a defined and repeatable process. Service delivery. How the organization fulfills what it sells and delivers value to the customer. When you do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, most leaders just sit in a room and go, what are we good at? That's too vague. Instead, point your SWOT at each of the 10 value aspects. What are our strengths in service delivery? What are our weaknesses in communications? What threats exist in HR? What opportunities are we missing in R&D? Here's why this matters. If you're not intentionally strengthening all 10 aspects, one of them will become the bottleneck and you won't see it until it breaks. I've seen companies with great financials but terrible service delivery. I've seen companies with amazing people but no process. I've seen companies with solid operations but zero innovation. And in every case, the bottleneck was invisible until it wasn't. So what do? You audit all 10 aspects. You ask, where are we strong? Where are we weak? Where are we vulnerable? And then you prioritize. You say, this quarter, we're shoring up communications. Next quarter, we're fixing service delivery. The quarter after that, we're investing in R&D. You don't fix everything at once, but you do make sure nothing breaks while you're focusing elsewhere. And here's the promise. When you diagnose instead of guessing, you stop firefighting, you start building, you move from reactive to proactive, from chaos to control. But you can't fix what you can't see, and when you map all 10 value aspects, you see everything. Now, if you realize your business has outgrown your current leadership structure, if you're the bottleneck and you know it, I can help. I work with founders and senior leaders who are ready to move from heroic leadership to sustainable stewardship. The first step, get the roadmap out of your head and onto paper. If you want help doing that, reach out. Let's build the architecture your team deserves. Here's what we've covered. Your competence built the business and the trap. The system was designed for heroics, not stewardship. Plans in your head don't scale, get them out. Design from the top down, execute from the bottom up. Business strategy meets agile execution, continuous incremental progress. Measure what matters across all 4 perspectives and diagnose with the 10 value aspects, not gut feeling. The shift from being indispensable to being a steward isn't about working less, it's about architecting better. And when you do that, your team stops waiting for you to decide because the system is designed for them to decide well. You don't need to be the hero anymore, you need to be the architect. Now that you understand why your competence became the trap, you need to know how to redesign your system so it doesn't need you to function. In an upcoming video, I'll walk you through the exact process I use with clients to build a business roadmap and strategy that your team can execute without you in the room. You'll learn the laundry list method, the agile sprint framework, and how to turn strategy into living projects the whole team can see and own. If you're ready to stop being the hero and start being the architect, that's the video you need next.